Imagine boarding a plane, and it never lands. No wreckage, no signal, no goodbye. Just vanished, as if swallowed by the sky itself. What if I told you these disappearances still have no explanation? Even after decades of searching, ruled by science and technology, we like to believe there's an answer for everything. But every so often, something happens that shakes that belief to the core. Giant airplanes, machines weighing hundreds of tons, guided by satellites, radar, and radio, simply vanish without a trace. No distress calls, no wreckage, no survivors. It's as if the skies themselves swallowed them whole. These are not stories from fiction. They are real events. Mysteries that defy logic and continue to haunt investigators, pilots, and families to this day. So, sit back and fasten your seatbelt, because today we explore 5 plane disappearances so bizarre, they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about our world. 5. The Ghost Flight. Helios Airways, Flight 522, visual, jet flying over bright Mediterranean sky, fades into eerie silence. August 14th, 2005. A Boeing 737 takes off from Cyprus, heading to Athens. 121 people on board. Holiday travelers, crew, families. Minutes after takeoff, the pilot reports a minor air conditioning issue. Nothing serious, but what happens next becomes one of aviation's most chilling stories. The plane keeps climbing higher and higher until radio contact cuts out. Greek air traffic control calls repeatedly. No answer. Fighter jets are scrambled to intercept. And when they approach, the scene inside the cockpit is something out of a nightmare. The captain and first officer are slumped over, lifeless. Oxygen masks hang loosely. Inside the cabin, passengers sit motionless, frozen victims of a slow, invisible killer. Hypoxia, the lack of oxygen. For over 2 hours, the aircraft flies on autopilot, a ghost ship in the sky. Then, as its fuel runs out, it slowly descends and crashes into a mountainside near Grammatico, Greece. What's haunting is not just the tragedy, but how long it went unnoticed. How could an aircraft drift across an entire country without anyone realizing everyone on board was already gone? Some say it was pure technical failure. Others whisper fate had already sealed their destiny the moment they took off. To this day, Flight 522 is remembered as the ghost flight of modern times. 4. Flight 19, the Bermuda Triangle mystery, visual 1940s-style aircraft flying over calm blue sea, which slowly darkens. December 5th, 1945. 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers, codenamed Flight 19, take off from Florida for a simple training mission. The weather is perfect. The pilots are experienced. But soon after the flight begins, something strange happens. Radio messages grow confused. Everything looks wrong, one pilot reports. We don't know where we are. The ocean looks different. Static fills the radio. Then, a final transmission. We can't make out land, we're lost. And then, silence. The Navy launches one of the largest search operations in history, including a rescue plane with 13 men aboard. But, unbelievably, that plane disappears too. Not a single trace of any of the 6 aircraft was ever found. No oil slick, no debris, no signal. This became one of the founding legends of the Bermuda Triangle, a place said to swallow ships and planes whole. Theories exploded: magnetic anomalies, underwater volcanoes, alien abductions, time warps. But maybe the scariest part is this. Even the Navy's official report ended with one haunting line. It's as if they flew off to Mars. Whatever happened that day, Flight 19 remains one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time. A reminder that some corners of our planet remain untamed and unexplained. 3. Malaysia Airlines. Flight MH370, the flight that vanished, visual modern jet, taking off at night, fading radar blips, and ocean waves. Under March 8th, 2014. Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 departs Kuala Lumpur bound for Beijing, a routine red-eye flight with 239 people aboard. 40 minutes later, as it crosses the South China Sea, its transponder suddenly switches off. The plane disappears from civilian radar. At first, authorities assume a technical glitch, but minutes later, military radar detects something shocking. MH370 has turned back and is flying the opposite direction across Malaysia toward the open Indian Ocean. Then it vanishes completely. No distress call, no mayday, just gone. Over the next months, nations around the world launched the largest search operation in aviation history, scanning over 46,000 square miles of ocean. Only a handful of debris pieces ever wash ashore, scattered across distant islands. Investigators trace an eerie satellite handshake, showing the aircraft flying for another 6 hours after losing contact. But why? Was it a hijacking, a mechanical failure, or something deliberately planned? Some say the pilot intentionally diverted the plane. Others suggest a sudden depressurization or electrical fire, but no one knows. Even after years of searching, the main wreckage has never been found. And so, MH370 became more than a mystery. It became a modern ghost story, a symbol of how, even in the age of GPS and satellite tracking, the Earth can still hide its secrets. Music builds, deep low-frequency hum. For the families of those on board, there's still no closure, just an empty sky. 2. The Stardust Enigma. The message, Stendek. Visual 1940s. British aircraft flying above snow-covered Andes. August 2nd, 1947. A British South American Airways flight named Stardust takes off from Buenos Aires, heading to Santiago, Chile. The crew consists of experienced ex-Royal Air Force pilots. As the aircraft nears the Andes Mountains, a blizzard begins to form. Yet the pilot radios a calm message. ETA Santiago. 1745 hours. Then comes one final transmission. ETA, ETA, ETA. STENDEC. And then nothing. No one could understand the word Stendek. It wasn't an aviation code, nor a distress signal. For decades, search teams scoured the Andes. But the Stardust had vanished completely. No wreckage, no bodies, nothing. It wasn't until 1998, 51 years later, when a glacier finally melted to reveal the frozen remains of the aircraft, still trapped in ice. The bodies were perfectly preserved, as if time itself had stopped. But the mystery of Stendek lives on. Was it a scrambled Morse code? A military encryption? Or perhaps a desperate final message that humanity was never meant to decode? Even today, cryptologists debate its meaning, and many believe that what the crew saw in those final moments over the Andes might have been something we're not yet ready to understand. Flight 2501, the lake that swallowed a plane. Visual 1950s-style aircraft flying into a dark storm over Lake Michigan. June 23, 1950. Northwest Airlines. Flight 2501 departs New York en route to Seattle, carrying 58 passengers. As it passes over Lake Michigan, the pilot requests permission to descend due to violent turbulence. Control denies the request. Other aircraft are flying below. Minutes later, radar contact is lost. The plane, its passengers, and its crew vanish into the night. Search teams find only oil slicks, a few seat cushions, and torn scraps of clothing, floating eerily on the surface. But no fuselage, no bodies, no black box. Over 70 years later, the wreck has still never been located. Local fishermen and divers speak of strange lights beneath the waves, sudden equipment failure, and whispers, voices that seem to echo through the dark water. The area has become known as Michigan's Bermuda Triangle. Some believe the aircraft lies buried deep in underwater dunes. Others claim it's been swallowed by the shifting sands of the lakebed, an underwater graveyard no sonar can reach. But one diver described something unforgettable. It felt like the lake was alive, watching us. Was it nature or something else entirely? Whatever the truth, Flight 2501 remains one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in American aviation. Sky belongs to us, that with our machines, our satellites, and our science, we've conquered it. But these disappearances tell another story, one of humility, because for every aircraft that takes off and lands safely, there are a few that simply vanish, without reason, without goodbye. Maybe they fell victim to human error or bad weather. Or maybe, just maybe, they crossed paths with something far beyond our understanding. Until the day we uncover the final wreckage, until every unanswered question is resolved, these lost flights will continue to whisper from the clouds, reminders that the world we live in is still full of mysteries.